Ilia Malinin isn't simply a prodigy. He acts like a coding error in the fabric of reality, a glitch that wasn't supposed to happen. He represents an absolute inevitability, standing as the singular quad god and the only mortal to ever tame the quad axel, effectively beating the hardest difficulty setting of figure skating with jumps deemed mathematically impossible 5 years ago. He touched down in Italy carrying a spotless record spanning the last 2 seasons, fresh off seizing his 4th straight national crown by a margin so wide it defies logic. Yet, as his blades carved the ice at the Milano arena on February 4th, 2026, that shimmering shield of invulnerability began to fracture. For the first time in his professional life, the aerial phenomenon who usually mocks gravity confessed to something startlingly human: terror. "Sometimes the weight of it all crashes down and paralyzes me," he revealed to a room overflowing with reporters. "It drags me into a dark headspace. It is a crushing burden to bear when the entire globe is holding its breath, waiting for a miracle. Mere victory isn't enough for the masses. They demand he rewrite the laws of motion, craving that legendary 6-quad routine and a shatteringly high score of 335.30. They demand a deity." But behind the curtain, Malinin is grappling with very mortal struggles. He is currently battling the nightmare of breaking in fresh boots, a risky and grueling variable to introduce during Olympic week. His feet are laced in neon yellow, a tribute from hockey icon Alex Ovechkin, symbolizing the titanic legacy he has sworn to uphold. What becomes of a myth when he discovers he is made of flesh and bone just like the rest of us? Here in Milan, this isn't a contest of spins anymore. It is a fight for existence. To grasp the sheer magnitude of the stress, one must dissect the brutal calculus of Malinin's craft. Consider the Quad Axel. A standard quad requires 4 airborne revolutions. The axle demands a forward launch, necessitating an extra half-turn before landing. That equals 1,260 degrees of rotation executed in under 8-tenths of a second. A feat experts swore would shatter the human skeleton. Critics claimed ankles would snap and brains would fail to compute the velocity. Yet Malinin spins at 6 revolutions per second, his frame absorbing nearly 800 pounds of impact upon return. Imagine a compact vehicle plummeting 3 feet directly onto a single leg that is the force he endures repeatedly. All of this happens while he screams across the ice at 20 miles per hour on a steel edge thinner than a pencil. However, his insurgency against Newtonian physics extends far beyond the axle. Throughout the 2026 season, he has unleashed tricks the judges barely understand how to evaluate. There is the raspberry twist, a gravity-defying horizontal rotation, borrowing its name from the Russian term Malina. Then there is the backflip, a stunt outlawed for decades due to peril, until Malinin essentially bullied the rulebook into submission in 2024. He didn't just raise the standard, he incinerated it, playing a game entirely separate from his peers and creating a mathematical paradox. Because his arsenal is so unique, his starting score is astronomical enough that he could hit the ice twice and still triumph over a flawless opponent. Yet in Milan, gold is secondary, immortality is the objective. For the first time, he realizes that being the frontrunner means the only path is down, with nothing left to demonstrate but everything to sacrifice. Malinin wasn't merely trained for this destiny. He was practically built in a lab for it. Born to Tatiana Malinina and Roman Skorniakov, he is the product of 2 Uzbekistani Olympians. He grew up fluent in the dialect of steel and ice in Virginia, analyzing rotational physics with 2 mentors who lived the Olympic stress firsthand. With a mother who conquered the Grand Prix final and a father known for technical mastery, excellence was the baseline. Arriving in Milan, he dons a new piece of armor: neon yellow laces gifted by the Washington Capitals captain Alex Ovechkin. This D-C area bond signifies a profound transfer of power between generations. Ovechkin, the ageless wonder hunting Gretzky's record, recognized a kindred predatory spirit in the young skater. Agent Ari Zakarian bridged the gap between these giants, and now those laces serve as a glaring beacon of the supremacy Malinin must uphold. However, such lineage and high-profile alliances demand a steep price. Being a second-generation Olympian carries a unique, crushing gravity. You aren't just chasing a personal fantasy, you are securing the survival of a family dynasty. On February 4th, he confessed that walking his parents' path is a privilege, yet the strain is visible on his 19-year-old face. He shoulders the hopes of his kin, a hockey icon, and a sport starving for a superstar on the level of Simone Biles. He has spent his existence perfecting the machine his parents designed, but Milan forces him to confront his own identity. By personally securing music rights and collaborating with artists, he is fighting to prove he is a soulful performer, not just a statistical aberration. The year is 2026, and Ilia Malinin is teeing up the most perilous leap of his life. Yet it has nothing to do with physics. It is a total artistic resurrection. He is painfully aware of the critics who brand him a soulless jumping machine, pointing out that his artistic scores pale in comparison to the fluid elegance of Yuma Kagiyama. Consequently, for the showdown in Milan, he has burned his old persona to ash. His short program, titled The Lost Crown, acts as a turbocharged homage to the Prince of Persia saga. This selection mirrors his true self, a dedicated gamer, a master builder of Legos, and a legitimate child of the digital era. Collaborating with the iconic Shailin Bourne, he transforms the rink into a combat zone, mouthing lyrics and grinning while executing gravity-defying stunts. However, it is his free skate that has really set the skating community ablaze with gossip. Shattering Olympic precedent, he becomes the first athlete in history to weave his own spoken narration into the competition soundtrack. Malinin logged endless hours in the booth, with Bourne and her director husband, Boden Turok, obsessing over every syllable. His aim was to vocalize the internal chaos, the crushing pressure, the agony, and the warrior mentality needed to endure it. Malinin declared he is the pioneer of using personal voiceovers, driven by a need to craft something distinct. He demanded the crowd hear his soul, not just watch his body, a staggering strategic gamble given that for 100 years, judges have worshipped silent, classical elegance. By injecting spoken word and video game rhythms into the mix, he is daring the panel to step into his reality. If they reject the narrative, even the most insane quadruples on Earth might not rescue his marks. He is swapping guaranteed points for raw truth, a wager with the highest possible stakes on the ice of Milan. As if mastering the Quad Axel wasn't enough, Malinin chose to set the Olympic Village ablaze this week with a simple three-word phrase: maybe, maybe not. At a Tuesday presser, the media finally popped the question on everyone's lips. Is the fabled quintuple jump about to happen? A leap of 5 rotations, 1,800 degrees of spin. A maneuver that would officially bury the quad era and birth a new age. Malinin has been baiting us with the quint salchow in training for months, boasting the necessary velocity and altitude, until he finally pulled the pin on February 3rd. Claiming his body is prepared, he teased that if the stars align, the world might witness it, the ultimate manifestation of his glitch persona. This is nothing short of psychological combat against every other skater on the roster. Merely uttering the word quintuple forces his opponents to scramble, for how does one battle a rival who finds the impossible mundane? However, the danger is absolute. A quintuple demands flawlessness with absolutely no room for a mistake. Being off by a single millimeter at launch creates an impact force capable of shattering a career, especially on Milan's notoriously hard and fast surface. While that ice amplifies power, it is merciless to anyone who falls. Whether he actually attempts it or is merely toying with us, he has successfully changed the headline from "Will he win?" to "What will he create?" He has effectively transformed the Olympic finale into his private experimental facility. With the men's short program launching in under 48 hours, the arena is vibrating with energy, yet Team USA remains locked in a state of careful vigilance. The competition is closing in like sharks smelling blood. Yuma Kagiyama, Japan's surgeon of the ice, is banking on the quad god crumbling beneath the colossal weight of his own dreams. Kagiyama lacks the axle but possesses robotic consistency, and Malinin's confession of struggles on February 4th has altered the equation. The moment a frontrunner reveals they are buckling under stress, they cease to be the hunter. They become the hunted, and he has confessed that blazing a solitary trail is an isolating experience. His technical prowess has distanced him so severely from the pack that he has no peer to measure his stride against. He is sprinting against his own ghost, chasing a finish line that perpetually retreats. At just 21 years old, he holds the world record and the title of Quad God. Yet, gazing at the Olympic rings in Milan, his mind isn't on the 1,260 degrees of spin, but on the impact of the return to Earth. Victory in 2026 isn't merely about snatching gold, it's about surviving his own miraculous talent. We all know the tragic trajectory of wonderkinds in this brutal arena. We've witnessed the burnout and the demons Elisa Liu fled from, yet Malinin has dodged that breakdown by outsmarting his own gifts. By night, he trades blades for plastic bricks, constructing complex vehicles under the watchful eyes of his cats. He keeps his blood moving with a soccer ball, fiercely guarding the boy within the machine, though Milan stands as the final exam. For years, he has demonstrated that he can soar, treating the laws of physics as mere recommendations. However, on this winter afternoon in Italy, he is undertaking a task far more difficult. He is mastering the art of the descent, accepting that flaws are just part of the flight, and realizing that a true warrior spirit isn't measured by landing 7 quadruple jumps. It is defined by the grit to pull yourself off the ice when the crushing weight of the world begs you to stay down. Ilia Malinin does not need a piece of gold hanging around his neck to prove he is the king of the air. That crown is already his. But in Milan, he might just cement his legacy as the greatest skater alive. Because the moment the quad god embraces his own humanity, he becomes absolutely invincible. The Olympics are not simply an event that is happening to Ilia Malinin. He is the storm happening to times them asterisk. And for the first time, he is ready to unveil the beating heart inside the machine.